create a new property, I go to the home page and I can choose from a new buyer or a new listing. I'm going to create a new buyer transaction and it's going to be on an existing property. It will already recognize me as the agent. For transaction coordinators, it will recognize you as the transaction coordinator, and then from a drop-down menu, you can choose the agent that the transaction is linked to. And then that way both parties are able to log in and to view any communications or documents for that transaction. I'm going to choose Silver Creek Agent Services as my transaction coordinator, and then they can manage things for me on this. It already knows that I'm representing the buyer, and it remembers that I selected the transaction type as residential existing. So I just have to input my address information. So we'll just create a nice little test property here. And you can see, just tab through the different options there. If you have a lot block and subdivision, you can go ahead and enter that. It just allows you to search for that, or if you have, you know, a new construction and you don't have a physical address yet, then it's nice to be able to create the property based on a lot and block. And so that takes care of our address information. We just go ahead and we enter our buyer and our seller. So we'll just say we've got Joe Buyer, and our seller is going to be, you can also use the entity field. So we'll just say that we've got maybe a trust that's going to be selling the property. We can enter our earnest money amounts and any information that's in the earnest money terms of the contract. And so Silver Creek's preference, of course, is that the earnest money is held by title. So I can just put, you know, the earnest money will be collected and delivered to title within 2 business days. And that's our recommendation for taking care of earnest money. I can go ahead and list the check number that I'm going to take to title. Krista Deacon, on most of our transactions where we're representing a buyer, is also the responsible broker. So I'll select that, and then I can go ahead and choose that I'm having the earnest money go to title. Then we've also got, we can re-enter like the deposit aspects of the transaction. So this tells us who's going to be holding the earnest money and when it's going to be collected, and then we also need to know the deposit information. And so I'm just going to say that it's going to be deposited immediately. And then the remaining fields are just for additional information. Fill out what you have. You can see, like, if as soon as you go into the field, you lose what's going on. So if you forget, just go out of it and you can go back in. But I can indicate what the sales price is, the title company that I'm working with. If I've got a location or a specific officer, I can include that. I can keep track of the brokerage, you know, the cooperating brokerage. And then this last section is nice. It allows us to keep track of closing dates and this, you know, when the file needs to be reviewed as we get closer to closing. Because I'm turning in this offer when it was just buyer signed, I don't have an acceptance date yet. I can update that later when I go into the transaction. But I do know from my offer that we wanted to try and close, we'll put by the 18th. And then if I've got any splits in commission, or if I want to do any donations, I can indicate that in the commission special instructions, and that's it. I go ahead and I submit the information, and it creates this new property for us. It is in a review requested state, so the naming structure isn't complete until the staff reviews it. And then as you get additional information, we talked about like an acceptance date, or if things change, say, you know, they counter back and the price goes up to 210. All of those fields are fillable and can be edited by you to keep your transaction current. And then I can just go ahead and add documents when I'm ready.